Hey everyone, good morning. How are you? It is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 today. Hope you're doing well. I am on the west coast of the United States and I'm doing very well. It's still a little early on this side of the world, but I'm somebody who wakes up naturally early, so I've been up for a while. I usually start my day with some work and then I also go for a walk. So I did a 3.5 mile walk. That's a little bit more than 5 kilometers. I usually walk with my dog, and we had a beautiful day out, lots of sun. Also had a nice stop at Starbucks like we do every morning. So we had some coffee, and my dog gets a little treat. So it's been a good day. It's been a great start to the day. Really happy to be with you here today to talk about the latest in generative AI. So I hope that you are also doing well and ready for some discussion, some questions. I am broadcasting right now on both YouTube and on X simultaneously. I do keep an eye on the comments, or rather the chat, for both of those services. So if you want to interact with me, have any questions, would love to hear from you. Even if you're just new to data science or generative AI, that's okay. Go ahead and just drop me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know a little bit about you and where you are in your data science journey. On my social media accounts, I get comments from students, from experienced executives, from people looking to make career changes. So go ahead and just let me know what you're up to and tell me a little bit about you. So in fact, it looks like we already have uh, our first question. So here, let me. I can put this up on the screen so that everybody can enjoy it. So Diego, good morning. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for the participation. Hey Dennis, great info. I've been following your channel for a while. I'm a data science student. Well, great. Welcome. My question for you is for linear classifiers. I'm not very clear about them. Okay. And Diego shares that he's from Orlando, Florida, working for JP Morgan Chase, doing some AI research. Nice, nice. Working in the financial industry can be very interesting and also very tough when it comes to data science. So I think the question is around linear classifiers and not very clear about them. So Diego, help me understand what you mean by linear classifiers. Are you referring to some sort of a regression-based method, or kind of give me a little bit more idea there? And also, when we're talking about classifiers, how many classes are we talking about? Is this going to be like a binary classifier, multi-class? Give me some idea there of what you're looking at, or if you just want to present the business use case, happy to see that. Okay, so Diego replies, like logistic regression. Yes. Okay. And by the way, guys, I'm putting the comments up on the screen because YouTube can't see the X comments and X can't see the YouTube comments. So kind of going back and forth that way. Okay, so you are talking about binary logistic regression. All right. So let's break that down a little bit further because Diego, it sounds like you're fairly experienced, especially if you're already working in the field, but we might have some folks that aren't as experienced. And by the way, I see that we already have 10 viewers, so thanks a lot for joining, everybody. So binary classifiers can be like a true or false classifier, or it could be just two different classes, like if you're trying to detect genders, let's say, based on some characteristics, or you're trying to just differentiate from two different classes. So that can be a type of binary classifier. But on top of that, you're saying that it's specific for logistic regression. And when we're talking about logistic regressions, the first thing that pops into my mind is probabilities, right? You're basically assigning a probability of whether your unknown object belongs to one class or the other, right? So when you hear logistic regression, you should always be hearing about values between 0 and 1. That's kind of one of the main differences between standard regression and logistic regression, right? The logistic regression is going to be a value between 0 and 1, whereas regression, a standard regression analysis can be any number of values, based on what you're classifying, or it could be some sort of a multi-class also. So the added complication there for the logistic regression is that when you have the result to your model, you have to put it through an additional layer to give you that value, that probabilistic value between 0 and 1, right? So that's kind of the difference there, where you don't care necessarily about what the straight answer is from the model. That really won't mean a lot to you. What matters is you putting it through the logistic formulas at the very end, so you can get to those values that give you the probability of belonging to one class or the other, right? And then from there, in addition to that, you might need to set a threshold to say, well, I'm only interested in classifying it in one class if the logistic value is greater than, say, 0.75. There's no magic to that number. That's not a standard or anything. I'm just using that as an example. But that's kind of the differentiator between your classic regression problem versus a logistic regression problem, right? So with that, you should also realize that not everything out there is a logistic regression problem. It's kind of a little bit of a specialized model based on whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm not gonna ask you exactly what you're doing with this at JP Morgan, because I know that's probably proprietary. But that's what you should be thinking, right? You should be the first question you should be asking is, am I looking for some sort of a probabilistic outcome here? Because if so, then you should proceed with a logistic regression. Otherwise, there might not really be a need to use it. But appreciate the question, Diego. I hope I answered it. If I left anything unclear, feel free to let me know. I'm here to answer as many questions as you guys would like. But happy for the interaction. Happy to see you guys, here. I'm seeing almost 15 users now on the live stream. So thanks a lot for joining. That's 15 users across both YouTube and X here. So thanks a lot for joining in, guys. All right. So yesterday's stream, I had some discussion around the OpenAI announcement, right? OpenAI had their product announcement yesterday. And today we are also expecting another product announcement by Google. Google is going to be hosting their I/O conference or announcement later this morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1700 GMT, for those of you that want to watch. But let's finish talking about the OpenAI announcements. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll see them here on my end. Want to know what you guys think. I'm always hesitant to share my thoughts, because then I'm biasing you, right? And that's the data scientist in me, being aware that I don't want to bias my audience. I don't want to taint my study, right? But I'd love to hear what you guys think about the OpenAI announcement and everything that happened yesterday. Personally, I thought it was a little bit interesting and not nearly as focused on Sora as I thought it would be. Because if you remember, yesterday I made two predictions, and I put this all over my socials. My first prediction was that they would be focused on audio, right? That they would have an audio in, audio out AI assistant. And my second prediction was that they would put Sora into wider release, right? Right now, Sora is only available to selected users. Supposedly, most of those users are from the creative community, from the filmmaking community, from the graphic design community. So that's not quite in general release yet. So I predicted that they would put Sora into general release, and that they would do it without a free tier. So I was wrong on the second prediction, but I was right on the first prediction. Clearly they are headed in a direction where they are going to have a fully voice-enabled assistant. That's essentially what they demoed yesterday. In addition to that, the assistant was now also using images, right? You could give an image as an input, or pictures, right, as an input, and get feedback from that. So I thought all of those use cases were very interesting. If you remember, I did poo-poo the idea just a little bit because I thought that an audio in, audio out assistant really wouldn't be that exciting because in the public's mind, it kind of already exists, right? People have Alexa, people use Siri. So is that really innovative? Well, I was wrong on that portion because the demo that they had yesterday were pretty slick, right? It was pretty slick that you could input pictures and images as part of the conversation. It was pretty interesting that you could also interrupt the model, right? They showed that a little bit, right? Where you can stop the model and say, "Well, no, that's not what I was looking for," and guide it in another direction. That's pretty unique, right? Because otherwise, you're having these back and forth conversations with Siri or Alexa, right? Um, in in I'm not a telephony expert or a communications expert, but my understanding is that's known as a simple conversation or a simplex conversation, right? Where I talk and then you talk and then I talk and then you talk, as opposed to what's known as a duplex conversation where people can kind of talk back and forth, right? So AI has succeeded in kind of having that duplex conversation where you can stop chat GPT and say, well, no, what I really meant was this, or can we really talk about some other thing, right? So that's basically kind of what they demoed and kind of the secret sauce that they're bringing to say, well, we're not just Siri, well, we're not just Alexa, we're actually something completely different. So I really appreciated that was part of the demo, in the new capabilities. In addition to that, they also had the demo of the real-time conversation translation. I thought that was really interesting. If you think about it, that portion alone, that could be like a standalone device, right? Where, it's like a translation box that you can take traveling with you all over and always be able to communicate with somebody in spoken word. The fact that they're able to do that, on your phone is quite amazing. So I was also happy to see that. I think that has a ton of potential uses, and I think people are excited about that. Now, another part that kind of got lost in the mix in their announcements, but I thought was really really fantastic, is the 50% reduction in price to use GPT-4. I think that's pretty massive. I've done some. I've done a. I did one video on the ROI of models, and that was something that I highlighted. Where I used the example of the Bloomberg LLM model that they trained, where they trained it on 700 billion tokens. That's a lot of tokens. I believe it was 10 years worth of data, maybe a little bit more than that. So when you're talking about that type of scale, the rates are super important. In fact, I think that in my video, I said that it would cost millions and tens of millions of dollars for Bloomberg to replicate that on GPT-4. GPT-4 was charging $60 per 1 million tokens that you use to train. So the fact that they're cutting that price in half has some very significant impacts for large enterprises that are looking to create massive models. So I think that the 50% reduction is fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing what companies do with that because it encourages companies to do more and more LLM models, right? So that's something that I'll be passing on in my notes to my executive clients because that barrier to entry has now dropped significantly and it'll continue to drop, right? Because if they're doing this with their kind of intermediate model launches and model introductions, what does it mean when they introduce GPT-5? When they introduce GPT-5, then maybe the price of GPT-4 will drop even more, and GPT-4 is already quite a capable model. So yeah, so really looking forward to seeing where that ends up. I haven't spent enough time with some of the newer OpenAI tools, and I will certainly do that. to try to get a better sense for them. I've spent some time recently with Anthropic's version, Claude. I thought that was a very interesting tool. I might be doing a video on that shortly. But otherwise, those were the my main takeaways from yesterday's OpenAI's announcement. So if you have other takeaways from that announcement, from that event, please feel free to put them in the chat. Would love to hear from you. Would love to see what your thoughts were, if anything caught your eye. Some people kind of thought that the announcement was a little bit less exciting than they thought it would be. Like I said, I was really hoping to hear something about Sora. But yeah, so that's kind of the end result there. I'm seeing almost 20 people in the chat, which is, excuse me, in the live stream, which is fantastic. So if there's anything else I can do for you guys, any other questions that you have, please let me know. And I'm also looking over here on my X profile. I'm almost at 700 followers. So if you don't follow me on X, I'd appreciate the follow there. Helps the account grow and helps motivate me to produce more and more content. So yeah, today's live stream is again is also in anticipation of the Google I/O announcement. That's going to happen here in a little bit less than 2 hours. Again, that's going to be happening at 1700 GMT, so whatever that means for your time zone. Unfortunately, I really don't have any predictions on what's going to happen with the Google I/O. Google has almost kind of, really almost kind of fallen behind on their AI tools. I'm aware of their Gemini tool because I work in the industry and I keep up with these things. But I don't think the average person on the street could tell you what Google's AI tool is. Does anybody, do any of your friends know what Google's tool is? Do they use it at all? But I think most people would realize what ChatGPT is, right? ChatGPT is almost becoming like a generic word for these LLM models, right? Kind of like the word Xerox or the word Velcro, right? People know what you mean, but those are actually trademark names, right, or company names. So I'm not sure how many people are looking forward to the announcement. I'm not sure if there's a lot to look forward to. My guess is that it's going to be something image related because Google really hasn't done a lot of image-based products. So I think that, this is going to be one of those things where they're going to be doing something related to images or video or something along those lines. I don't have any insider information, so this is my own speculation, my own guesses. Who knows what some of these companies decide to end up doing anyways. But that's my guess that they're going to do something image related because we really haven't seen a lot of imaging tools from Google. I believe that they are live streaming it on their X account, so you are going to need to be on X in order to see that. But we'll see what happens. I wish I knew more to make better predictions. I felt pretty good about OpenAI's predictions yesterday because I tend to keep up with them just a little bit more. But if you have any predictions or you heard anything, feel free to put them in the chat. You can put them in the chat on X or on YouTube, and I will put them up on the screen so that everybody can see it. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes of that, and looking forward to getting to know more of you and hearing from more of you out there. We have more than 20 people watching, so don't be shy. Please feel free to drop a question or drop a comment. Let me know where you're visiting from, where you are in your data science journey. If you're a student, that's okay. I have a guide, a free video guide that I have for students that I put up on my YouTube and on my X to kind of help with the common questions that I get from students. So feel free to look that up. And if there's something that's not clear or you have a specialized question, I'm here to help. I know that being a student in data science isn't always easy. I believe that data science is a learned profession, right? Where you can have a lot of schooling and a lot of education, but you really need to learn on the job, right? So I think it's very similar to being a doctor or a lawyer, where a doctor and a lawyer on their first day, they have a lot of academics behind them, but they don't really have the practical side behind them, right? They kind of rely on other people in the business to help them grow and help them kind of see how things are really done, right? So, now that I'm a little bit more experienced in the field, that's kind of my role now. So I'm happy to help some of the folks newer to the field so that, the field can grow and that when I'm old and retire, that, data science will be a little bit stronger. But yeah, happy to interact with you guys. I'm streaming every day this week at the same time at I guess it's the 1500 GMT that I'm streaming. That's 8 a.m. my time on my side of the world. But wherever you are, I hope that you're able to join me Monday through Friday at that same time. And I basically stay as long as people have questions or as long as there's items to talk about. For today, again, the anticipated event is the Google I/O event, and I'll be discussing my thoughts on it tomorrow once the event is over. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm not sure if anybody's expecting anything groundbreaking from Google today. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens here in just a little bit over 90 minutes from now. So whatever that means for you in your time zone, that's when the Google event is. I do also have a couple more videos coming up over the next few weeks. If there's other videos that you'd want to see or other topics that you would want me to expand on in the videos, let me know. The topic ideas I mostly get when I'm out walking. I'll stop and write something down on my phone. I kind of have this long list of ideas of things that I want to talk about. But these are really just things that interest me. There may be other topics out there that interest you. So if that's the case, let me know, and I'm happy to consider it for a future episode. I do both long form videos and short form videos. So happy to, consider your ideas or anything else that you'd like to see. So we're at over 20 views right now. So don't be shy if there's something else that you want to talk about, or again, just introduce yourself and where you're joining from, the city or, what country you're from, where you're at in your data science journey. If you're a student or you're a practitioner in the field, let me know. I work with people at all different levels. In my career, I've done everything from, being kind of working my way up from being the programmer to the lead programmer to senior programmer to data scientist to lead data scientist. And I was last a chief data scientist at Citi, and have worked for other large companies around the world. That's a little bit of my background. So I think that most situations that are out there, I can at least speak to just a little bit. So I'm not seeing any more comments or questions in the chat, but that's okay. Maybe you guys want to join tomorrow, and we can talk about the Google event and see what happens. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to wrap up the stream unless there's any final questions. But happy to have spent some time with you. And Diego, thanks for the questions. I hope that helps. And if you have other questions or any other way I can help you, please subscribe. Please subscribe to my YouTube. Please follow me on my X account. I'm only a few users away from 700 on X, so hopefully I can hit that by the end of this week. I'm averaging about 100 new followers every month, So I'm on track to meet that again this month. But yeah, but please follow, please subscribe, please hit the like button, and I will catch you next time. Take care, everybody.